to see you all. And welcome to this month's Dive In with Dom. So I'm curious, just as we begin to check, is there anybody here for the first time? Anybody who's, okay, Mary Beth, hey, welcome. And Anka, hi Anka, welcome. Jenny, great. Peter, okay, welcome. So we've got a number of people. And just so I have some sense, those of you who are new, is there anybody here who is completely new to inquiry, right? So just put up your hand if you're totally new to inquiry, because that'll be good to know. All right, we don't have anyone who's totally new to inquiry. Okay. So Dive In with Dom, as some of you know, many of you know, is a public forum, right? So anybody is invited to show up here. And it's a forum, it's part of my efforts to just raise awareness of the practice of inquiry, right? Inquiry is this beautiful, magical practice that in the Diamond approach is our central practice. But really, I think can be relevant to many other people and alongside other personal development and spiritual practices. So this is a place to kind of put it out there and share it so people can find out about it. We'll be recording the session, and the sessions are generally posted on the website or on the YouTube channel. So if you look at Dive In Inquiry on YouTube, or if you go to the divein.life website, those details will be shared, then you can find past sessions there. And in every session, we cover a different topic, right? A different angle on the practice of inquiry and something that, that we can discover about the practice, something useful that we can learn through the practice. And I really invite you to bring whatever questions that you have. So we like it to be a bit of a practical kind of session. So we'll do a little bit of talking, we'll do a little bit of exploring, and then we'll have some discussion and some sharing. So it's public, it's recorded. At some point you will do an exercise in breakout rooms. That is not recorded, right? So that is confidential, and each of you agrees to, not talk about the other person's inquiry, because you'll have a little chance to do some inquiry. Yeah, so the topic this month, an interesting one. We were toying over various options, and I have various possibilities that we'll no doubt get to in the coming months, when one of my friends and colleagues who, helps me out with all of this said, well, it's Pride Month. Pride Month. What are we doing? Should we do something for Pride Month? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I mean, would be interesting to do something. And I mulled and an angle didn't right away occur to me. I knew there was something in there that could be interesting, but I didn't know what. And then actually, at the moment that I was literally about to write to them and say, well, that's it. I don't think I can think of any particularly good angle. Boom, there it was. It's funny how that happens sometimes. So we're going to spend some time today looking at some very personal things, looking at what makes inquiry so personal, right? Because it's a very personal practice. So to begin, we're going to start with a little practice. So I'm going to invite you to find a comfortable sitting position. And we're going to start doing a sensing practice. So to inquire is to get in touch with your experience, with you, your consciousness, the immediacy of your experience. These are phrases that you may have heard many times. So we want to get in touch with the immediacy of our experience. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and see if you can find some kind of friendly interest. So you're approaching yourself, approaching yourself to find out what's true for you. That's an even more interesting angle, right? Your personal truth. What is personally true for you? And just notice what happens when I say those words. Like, what does that touch in you? To find what is personally true for you. And we're going to take a moment to do some sensing, to just land in the immediate felt sense of our experience. So I want you to bring your attention down to your feet. Sense into the sensations of your feet. Feel the contact with the ground. And whatever sensations you sense there, maybe the temperature, your shoe or your sock. Maybe you can sense each of your toes on each foot. Maybe in this moment there's an ache or a pain in your foot. So you're sensing into the immediate reality that is the experience of your foot, your feet. And sense into your ankles. And your lower legs, your shins and your calves. Inviting your attention to land, to come in contact with whatever's there in your lower legs, whatever it might be. You don't have to make anything happen. There's no right or wrong. It's not about trying to sense a particular thing. But you're sensing your body, your immediate experience. Sensing your knees, front of the knees, the back of your knees. And then sensing into your thighs, the whole length of your thighs, the girth of your thighs, the clothing or the fleshiness or the muscle, the skin, whatever you sense there. Maybe it feels strong, maybe it feels hardly there. Maybe it feels solid and grounded. Maybe it feels disconnected, like it's not even part of you. So however it is, whatever your personal experience is, as you sense your thighs, you want to see what that is. And then your buttocks, your hips, your pelvis, contact with the chair. Notice that you can get in touch with what's there. You can find out. You can be open and curious and sense into it and discover what it is. You can't really decide what it is. You can't really make your buttocks or your hips feel a certain way. But you can get in touch with how they're showing up right now, in this moment, with the reality of that, the truth of that. And sense the whole of your legs, from your feet all the way up to your pelvis. And now notice, how's that affected you? How does it affect you to be in touch with your legs? Whatever that might be. Maybe it makes you feel nervous or anxious. Maybe it makes you feel calm and grounded. It's something you discover. You allow and you discover. How is it to be in touch with my legs? A little more in touch with my legs. Maybe it doesn't seem to make much difference. So whatever is true for you, whatever is actually the reality, is actually going on. That's the thing. Now sense your fingers and your hands. All those little fingertips, your individual fingers, the palm, the back of your hands. Your wrists, sensing into your wrists. And letting your consciousness fill your forearms and your elbows, which just means getting in touch with whatever the felt experience there is. Inviting it, touching into it with your inner touch. Touching the bones and the muscles and the skin of your forearms. And your upper arms. How do they feel? They feel strong and vibrant. They feel flaccid or brittle, barely there. So you take the time to notice, to be in touch. And you sense your shoulders. The whole shoulder girdle. Or your shoulders at this moment of your day. Don't forget to breathe. Breathe as you sense. Your consciousness fills your shoulders, feeling everything, whether it's an emptiness or a nothingness or a tingle or an ache or juicy, pleasurable sensation, strong, solid. Maybe it's more like sound. Maybe it's like you almost hear your shoulders. And then sense the whole of your arms, from your fingers all the way up to your shoulders. And then both arms and both legs. Sensing your arms and legs. And again, notice how that affects you. What's that like for you? You personally, right now. What's it like? What does it do for you? How does it make you feel? How do you feel about your body? Do you like being in touch with it? Do you not like being in touch with it? How is it to make space for those kind of preferences? Maybe you hate sensing your arms and legs. Every time somebody guides you through sensing your arms and legs, you're sitting there going, oh God, I hate this. Why do we have to do this? How is it to allow that truth, to include that truth? And then sensing the whole of your body. So also sense your pelvis, your belly, your heart, chest area, neck, your head. All the sensations of your body, of your consciousness of your body. Just notice what's there. It's like you've dived in and you're looking around, sensing into your body, being in touch with it to whatever degree you are. And then take a moment to notice, how are you feeling? How are you feeling now? What kind of feelings are here? What are you present with? Some kind of emotional reaction, something that happened earlier, feeling of curiosity or interest or fear. Maybe there's some kind of essential quality here, like love or sweetness or peace or kindness or solidity. Just noticing the feeling tone that's present, being in touch with that, with your personal, that's the truth of how you're feeling. You don't have to make it be any one way or the other. And then notice your mind. How is your mind? Is your mind quiet or chattering? Is there a voice in your mind? Is it dialogue? Does it feel energetic, or is it kind of calm and quiet? Does it feel clear, or does it feel more dull? So taking a moment to notice your mind and what's on your mind. Like, what's on your mind? If you give yourself that question, oh, well, what is on my mind? What are the things that you're thinking about? Drawing your attention. Again, you can see that as you ask that kind of question, it's something you can find out. You can discover. You can't really decide what's on your mind. You don't really choose it. So now you're sensing, you're feeling, you're conscious. Begin listening, adding listening, including the sensing of the sound around you. And then when you're ready to include looking, let your eyes open. Include your visual perception of your environment, people on the screen. Like, how is it to be looking? How does that affect you? How is it for you now? Again, if you like it, you don't like it, open your eyes and you're like, oh, no, I don't want to be looking. Or is it like, oh, wow, look, there's my favorite plant. There's my favorite painting. So you're sensing, looking, listening, feeling, conscious, in touch with yourself. So as you know, this personal experience, this in-touchness with yourself, right? That's what inquiry is all about. It's really about this kind of personal truth. What's personally true for you. And as you notice, like as you were noticing just your feelings or your sensations in your body, in any moment you can find out, like, well, what's really true? What's really here? What can I actually say? It's an interesting thing that, right? That we can actually discover our personal truth, right? And that personal truth as a person, as the particular individual person that you are, right? Goes from the deepest realm of what do you experience your nature to be in the moment? Like, what's your sense of what you are? What are you? Where are you coming from? What is your identity? What is your nature? It comes from there, and from there it comes all the way out into your life, right? Into every little detail and nuance of your life. And I often see a kind of division there that people think, oh, oh, our personal truth, well, that's just for exploring like the truth of our essence and our being and all of that. And, it's not like those more superficial things in life. But what if you entertain the possibility that it is? What if it's as spiritual to feel into the truth of, like I said in the newsletter, like, do I like chocolate or do I like vanilla? Like, what is this soul actually like? What is my thing? Maybe my thing is, it doesn't matter. I don't, that's not an important question to me. Right? That might be your personal response to that question. But it's something I find endlessly fascinating. This kind of personal truth, that there is this personal truth that you can find out, oh, actually, I like this. Like this little thing and this little manifestation in your life, right? This particular way that you go about doing something, right? That you can find out that that's actually what you like, that you like that color and not really that color, right? That you want your room to look like this particular way, To think that your personal truth, that your capacity to kind of explore how you want to live your life and what it really means can potentially go all the way into those kind of details. I don't know. I find it absolutely captivating. I find it mysterious and fascinating that as human beings, as people, our personal expression can be so individual and so unique, right? And that it is possible to find out what is actually, your thing, your personal expression. So Pride Month, right, kind of brings us to some of the sort of big questions and the views in our society, like over the last kind of 20, 30 years, have gone through sort of radical developments and changes, right, in some parts of the world and not in other parts of the world. But these days, the kind of possibilities that people talk about in terms of start with sexual orientation, right? Like the possibilities of finding out like what is actually true for you. What kind of a person are you? What are you attracted to? Right? What really kind of does it for you in some, like what actually sort of, how does your sexual drive naturally express itself? Right? That it's possible to find that out, right, is really interesting. In the old days, they were like, well, there was one right way, and then a whole lot of, well, there was one right way. Everything else was wrong. I was going to say a whole lot of wrong ways. I don't know if there were a whole lot of wrong ways, but there was one right way and lots of wrong ways. Right? I tell you a beautiful example of this, a friend of mine who Like for a long time, the possibilities were gay, straight, or bisexual, right? Those are, the situation had evolved that these were the kinds of possibilities. And this person sort of inhabited the bisexual thing for a while because there didn't really seem to be, there wasn't like any other kind of bucket that really did it. But as he deeply sort of inquired into this and explored and began to recognize, well, what actually is the situation? Having been in relationships with men, been in relationships with women, begun to notice the different nuances. Like actually, at some point he recognized, well, actually, I'm turned on. I'm attracted to women, right? That's like where the excitement is. That's why I get excited. But every now and again, I really like to have sex with a man, right? But I'm not turned on in the same way. It's a different thing. And I remember his delight when one day we were chatting about these things and he said, oh, I've discovered this term. He said, heteroflexible, right? And he was beaming with the recognition that like this actually fit. So he was basically heterosexual, basically straight, but every now and again, he liked something else, right? It didn't actually make him bi. He wouldn't call himself bi. That's like, just doesn't, yeah, it just wasn't quite it, right? And this for me was like such a beautiful illustration of the kind of nuance, the kind of fineness with which it is possible for us to recognize what's true for us, right? For example, in our sexual orientation. That actually many people are completely one thing. Most people maybe completely heterosexual, some people completely gay, some people on a spectrum, and all kinds of nuances and subtleties in between. Right? So it kind of liberates it from all of those boxes in a way to be able to find out your own personal truth. Right? And what we navigate with that is the truth, like your feeling, your recognition of, well, what is actually true for me? Right? What is really the truth? Oftentimes we don't know. So anyway, you start experimenting. You're like, well, I thought I might like that, but well, on second thoughts, maybe not. Right? So it's not that we even necessarily know. And sometimes we do. The same kind of thing applies to things like gender identity. Right? So we kind of have what we now call cisgender, right? Like you identify with the gender that you were born with, a man or a woman, and they're like, that's right. For a lot of people, like that's it. Man, woman, it's what you were born with, like nothing else to question, right? So that's one possibility. But when you begin to delve into it, you might find all kinds of interesting nuances, right? Maybe you're kind of 95% whatever gender you are, but there's that 5%, that little something, right, that is something different, that expresses itself in a different way, that if there were no limitations, right, and the ideas and beliefs and conditioning around it, that actually you feel yourself a little more like that, right? Maybe it's more 50-50, right? Some people feel themselves like, well, I don't even know, I can't really say. Maybe it's the very particular thing that's whatever you are. Maybe it's linked with your sexual orientation, maybe it isn't, right? Maybe gender identity is a totally different thing. Right? So again, my point is the kind of wonder of being able to look into this sort of these kinds of very personal questions to find out what is actually true for you? And of course, we come with a bucket load of conditioning, a bucket load of superego ideas, right? Very, very deep shaping from our formative years, from the ways in which our gender, sexual orientation, all of these things were seen or not seen, responded to or not responded to. So all of that conditioning is, is a thing. I want to touch on one other topic. David's put a great question. I'm going to speak to that shortly, David. I want to touch on one other. So we've got the gender identity, we've got the sexual orientation. Another place where I see it gets really interesting for people is in relational preferences. Like, what kind of relationships do you like to have? Are you a one-person, monogamous, together forever? That's my thing. There are people for whom that's their thing, right? That really feels like it. Certainly our culture has idealized that as a concept, right? Those of us from certainly monotheistic traditions idealize this kind of two people, one couple, a man and a woman together, right, for the rest of their lives. Yeah. Is that true for you? Is that the truth? Is it like, well, this relationship has been amazing for the last X years, but it's run its course, right? It feels done. That was that relationship, and it's time for something new. That's a possibility, right? That's something you have go through your first breakup, your first divorce. I remember when one of my teachers said, yes, he sees people dealing with their first marriage and then their first divorce. I had to laugh because somehow in my mindset, from my very early conditioning, like divorce was like, well, that's a very non-ideal thing. But to then talk about like your first divorce as if, goodness, there could be a whole lot of relationships, and to actually enter into relationships and move out of relationships, maybe that's a completely normal, natural thing. Right? Maybe that's actually the truth for you. Some people do that, some people don't. Different possibilities. Maybe for you, there are nuances around now all kinds of polyamorous relationships, open relationships, relationships that express partnership, that express parenting, that express sexuality, that express companionship. Maybe they're all in one, maybe not. Maybe there are different possibilities. So again, this possibility kind of opening up this like personal potential to discover this, to find out, what it is for you. Like, what's the thing for you? So all this talk about preferences, right? I'm going to get you at some point to, well, what about the preference like, I don't like gay people. I don't like them. That's my preference. They must just stay away from me. What's the difference between that kind of preference and the kind of preference that I'm talking about? Is one better than the other? Hey, that person can also say, hey, well, that's my truth. I don't like that. That's my truth, right? So, personal truth. So how do you tell the difference? How can you tell in yourself? The question David has asked there. Like, what is true? What is a real preference here? And what is my conditioning? What's my conditioning? What's an ego reaction? Well, so this is really where there is nothing like inquiry, right? Inquiry is really the thing that can help you get to the bottom of that. Because as you sense into yourself, like as you're feeling or exploring or aware of some preference or some urge or some wish or some movement in you, you can sense yourself. You can feel yourself. And you can ask, well, where am I coming from here? What is this expressing in me? What is here? What is present here? What am I feeling and knowing myself to be as I'm in touch with this? Feeling under your superego, a superego going, you shouldn't do that, or that's bad, right, has a particular feeling, right? You can tell it. When you sense into yourself and you feel how you're feeling and you sense your body, if something is a superego attack, you can tell. It has a particular kind of feeling. Right? It does not feel the same as the arising of essential truth. Being in touch with your presence and sensing your presence, feeling the very presence of your being, of your consciousness, of your heart open, and sensing the real personal truth of it. That has a very different feeling. If you're coming from some kind of reaction, some part of you that goes, I hate that, I don't like that, that's bad, you can sense that in your body. That has a very particular kind of feeling, right? You'll be able to sense the reactive part of you. If you keep exploring it, you'll get in touch with the aggression or the hatred, the rejection that's in it. And then you know, oh, that's what that is expressing. Right? If you get in touch with some young part of you, something young and frightened or anxious or afraid or abandoned or alone or unseen, all of these will come up. You can be guaranteed that if you start looking into this territory, really exploring this territory, you're going to come across the whole bang shoot, right? The structuring and the conditioning around our sexuality and our sexual orientation and our relational preferences and all of that is deep and profound and multifaceted, right? So you're going to come into young parts and ego structures and superego judgments and reactions and, you know, all of that. And so the beauty is with your inquiry, you have the possibility of bringing all of that to the surface, bringing it more and more into consciousness. And over time, you begin to metabolize it. It is genuinely possible, and I speak from personal experience, it is genuinely possible to metabolize your history around these things. And it can take years. It does take years in my experience. Many, many deep years. Lots of deep, difficult, painful, oh, sure, the whole lot, really. All of that has to be come up and be felt and understood and allowed for. But little by little, your truth, your sense of what is actually true for you, of what you really are, kind of clarifies. And it becomes more and more natural. I think that's a lot of what I notice, that when a human being is really integrated with their sexuality or with their gender identity, at some point you just forget about it. You don't even think about it anymore because it is just so natural, so unquestioned. I remember one of my very first encounters with, at a retreat with Hamid, like in 2002 or 2003. And he spoke something about sexuality and he talked the whole did the whole piece on sort of heterosexual experience. And I went to him in the break and I said, well, that's all well and good, but like, what about gay experience? And his comment was, well, I'm not gay, so I don't know. I don't know about that. And I was aghast. I was like, what do you mean you don't know about that? You haven't thought about it. But now I understood where he was coming from. Because in a certain point, when you are naturally what you are, you're just that, right? There's not even a question or a doubt. It just feels natural and obvious, and sort of like anything else wouldn't even really occur to you. And you're just being naturally what you are. So that's the possibility. Inquiry in time offers us that possibility of discovering just naturally what we are and being able to be that and to live that. And the inquiry helps us every step of the way by just bringing into light the barriers, the issues, the places in us that are hurt, or wounded, or conditioned, or superegoed, or all of that. It is a very beautiful, very personal, very lifelong, well, long-term journey. So in a sense, I think as we're discovering new stuff and opening up to stuff, we go through a phase where there is a need for pride. There is a need to really, to begin to claim something, to begin to own something. And as we continue in that journey and work all the way through it, at some point that disappears. We recognize that the value and the pride is just in our natural being. Doesn't occur to us anything different. So I think that's what I have to say to get you thinking about this. So we do like a little mini exercise here. It's a very mini exercise. I'm going to get into groups of 2. Well, maybe let's do 3. Have we got time for 3? Yeah, we've got time for 3. Get into groups of 3. And if you don't want to do the exercise, that's fine. You don't have to do it. You can just rejoin in about 20 minutes if you want to come and join the Q&C. So we're going to get in groups of 3, and you'll each just have 5 minutes. Just take 5 minutes and just explore whatever you like about what I've said. Right? Whatever it touches for you, anything that seems to come up for you or that strikes you, whether it's about any of these topics or more generally, how are you with inquiring personally? Does your inquiry become personal in these kind of ways? How do you see inquiry into your preferences and your personal truth? Do you see that as relevant all the way into the manifestations of your life or not? So you could look into that, or you could look into something around sexuality, around gender identity, around sexual orientation. And again, so the slight balancing thing here, it's a public forum, so we can't say who's here. There's apparently nobody who's new to inquiry, so that's good, right? Well, I don't know, is that good? It's a sensitive subject, I guess is what I'm saying. So just, share appropriately. If you don't feel comfortable sharing specifics, you don't have to. If you want to, you can. And a reminder that if you are completely new to it, if you are, while you are witnessing, right, just to be a silent witness, right? You just let the other person go wherever they go, let them go there, no feedback, no comments, don't say anything or react during their talk. They might say something that's totally outrageous to you. Cool, right? You let them go where they go. And then you'll have your turn to explore whatever you want to explore. So we really want to remember our friendly interest and our respect for each other. So it'll take 15 minutes and we'll add a couple of minutes for coming and going. And we will, so it's 3 people, so it's nice. You'll get to hear from 2 others as well as share your own. And then we'll just come back here. All righty, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back, and I'm curious to hear. We've got now a few minutes, some discussion time for sharing or questions or comments. Yeah, what you got? Where are you at? Ruth.
I just wanted to start with where I finished my last sentence in my group. Life is strange and wonderful.
Life is strange and wonderful. That is for sure true. Yeah. How is it to recognize that?
It's hopeful.
Hopeful.
Yeah, hopeful even though life is very mixed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Is there anything else you want to say or ask?
I have a push-pull with inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
I love your teaching of it. It's opened it up for me.
Oh, happy to hear that.
And I have to do inquiry with my own resistance to doing it. So that's where I am.
You have to do what? Say that again. I missed it.
I have to do inquiry with my own resistance to doing inquiry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What do you see about that? Like, what makes you not want to do it? What's the push?
It's the same thing I've had for my whole adult life in terms of getting over the sense of shame and feeling like if I look at myself, I'll find dark parts, and it's all very mixed and also very real. So I have an attraction to it and also a fear.
So there's a fear there, a fear about what you'll find. And is that kind of is it kind of related to judgment about it? Like judgment about what you find, or is it your fear?
Yeah, but
you said there's shame, right? So it sounds like there might be some judgment involved.
I'm an Enneagram 4. And that's one of my, but that's all irrelevant. I'm feeling more hopeful about this whole process now.
Right. Good. Good. I mean, yeah. I mean, if there is some force in your psyche that is kind of making it feel unsafe, right? Like your superego is like hanging around and gonna jump on your case, then that's a very important barrier to kind of work with directly. Certainly get into this kind of territory, right? Because it will make you feel terrible about what you're finding. And it's true. There's dark parts in everyone, and in inquiry, it's a good chance it will take you to some of that. But it's obviously that much worse, that much harder if you're being attacked and judged for what you're finding. Right? So kind of working with that directly is really key. Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, any other questions or comments? Yeah, Charles, go ahead.
Hello, Dominic. Yeah, this is a very interesting subject, and I find I notice that it's the territory is very intimate. I feel there is an intimacy in me that has been touched by exploring such a sensitive matter.
So how do you just feel that intimacy a moment?
Yeah, it feels
Directly, what's it like?
It feels so sacred.
Mm.
Because it's such a deep exploration, it feels sensitive and tender. Yeah, I feel very touched by it.
Beautiful. Beautiful to see that kind of being with such personal things, right, brings you in touch with, you feel the sacredness of it, right?
Yeah.
Sacredness and the tenderness. There's tenderness with it.
Yeah. And I also feel that each person's forgotten the name now. Sexuality. It is also, I find that very sacred because it's all to do with love. They're exploring part of themselves where they will want to find out what is it that is loving for me.
Right. Yeah, that's certainly one possibility of it. One aspect.
Yeah.
Right.
And whatever way their sexuality is, I can respect that because I feel, yeah, it's their destiny and it's not part of my judgment, what is right and what is wrong. So again, I find that it's a sacred, it's sacred work and exploration.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's very true. And it's funny, there's something that we might think of as, like just an instinct, and yet like so sacred.
Yeah. And it's so intimate as well of, wow, do I dare go that way? Or do I dare explore? The intimacy with oneself is, yeah, there's a lot of tenderness and a lot of sensitivity.
Right. And it sounds like from what you're saying, it also takes a certain kind of courage. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, do I dare? Do I dare?
Yes.
Do I dare to find out what's true?
Quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sensitivity, courage.
Yes.
Respect.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Respect. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. I'm trying. Welcome. And then we have Peter. Peter, go ahead.
Yes. I really liked it, and it was beautiful to hear the term hetero something. I forgot it now, but heteroflexible. Yeah. Because as with your friends, it opened up like, okay, I can give a name to it, and then also the idea of gender identity, like that you can give percentage to it, like opened up the whole range, which was beautiful, and also like hearing about different relationship things in a way. What was interesting for me was that, so I was like opening up and it was feeling great in a way, and like giving space to feel more like myself. And then an old thing came up, which I thought I had overcome, and apparently I didn't. And that is, I was like the whole not being completely heterosexual and a man, I had this image where I wanted to be a man to gain some confidence and that others would like me.
Okay.
And I think it came partly because my dad is really manly, but in a good way. He's not pretending. He's like, well, right. And then cultural things came on top of it. And from the beginning, when I wanted to be more of a man so that people would like me, it was false. And people would feel it. And then also I'm coming from a family which is very towards left, so you like I got scolded for it, and the shame of being scolded for it, that it's not in our political worldview to be a proper man, or like to be a not proper man but manly man, like this idea they had, but also like them realizing that it's not really me, put so much shame on it that I couldn't find out for myself that it is a wrong picture I'm following, or a wrong idea that I'm trying to portray. And it was good to find out that I have to work with the shame to let it go finally, because I always only worked with it but never realized that the shame is actually in front of me, like exploring it and seeing that it's fake, because I can feel it, it's fake, but I can't shake it off. The shame is
Beautiful. What are you feeling right now as you talk about this, and where does it bring you now?
So it feels good to talk about it. That's why I talked about it, like bring it out in the open. I'm a little bit ashamed of my like a bit limited possibility to express myself, because English is not my native language, but that's fine.
And yeah, keep an eye on your superego there, right?
Yeah. I really want to explore, like I want to explore to be like a man like that, which I know I'm not, but I want to explore it, and I want to like give life to it to then let it go. And that's what I'm feeling right now. I don't want to let it go now, but I would never like want to go.
I would say to you, why even have that agenda, right? So there's some part of you that you said you want to explore it to let it go. Who knows about letting it go, right? Who knows? What you can do is let yourself feel into it and find out about it.
Yeah.
Right? What's it like to have that? What if you let yourself be a man, right? Be a man.
Yeah.
And you just explore what's that like? What's that expressing within you?
Yeah, I like that better. I want to explore it and see what happens.
Exactly. So you'll find out what it is. And if it's some kind of reaction, because part of what you said is you wanted it to get some sense of like respect, or something along those lines, then it's possible that as you're with it and you feel it and you explore it, if it's fake, you'll start to feel the fakeness of it, right? And it will reveal what's lying underneath it, right? And all you need to do, this is the beautiful thing with inquiry, you don't need to have an agenda to go anywhere with it. You just need to find out about it, be in touch with it, sense it, follow it, and find out what it reveals. Right? If
really
hovering over some sense of a lack of value, then you'll get to that, right? You'll feel that, and then it will dissolve and you won't need it anymore.
Yeah. And I feel really open about it at the moment to just explore it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Great.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, you're welcome, Peter. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Sylvia, go ahead.
Hi, Dominique.
Oh.
Thank you for your talk. It was so touching for me. It really hit the spot in myself. Yeah, I found out, I don't know, 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago, something very true about myself concerning my partner choices. And it felt so true and so deep. And some part of myself was not totally happy about it. And at the same time, I recognized, okay, but that's true for my whole life. And yeah, I also feel a little bit touched now. There's quietness about that. And
give that a little moment. Yeah, if you allow the touchedness, the quiet.
Yeah, it's very fine and very delicate and quiet and in freedom with that, in peace. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's a freedom and peace.
Yeah.
Truth.
Yeah, and wow, a sparkling effect. So wow, that's true about my life, and I want to know more about it. I want to know all about it, everything, and yeah, it's just the beginning about something I found out about myself, something very true, and yeah, and it feels so personal and so that's so true for my whole life. It was so important to see that, and I don't go into specifics. It's too public, but yeah, I was so touched about that.
Beautiful. Yeah, great. That's really wonderful. Kind
So
of
thank you.
feel that. Yeah, you're so welcome. You feel the kind of aliveness and the curiosity and the energy, the sparkle that's kind of liberated.
Yeah, I want to know more about it. It's so great to find these things about myself, and at the same time there is super ego, and okay, that's maybe this partner choices or preference, it's not appropriate from some societal perspectives, but yeah, I don't know what to do with this part.
Okay, so just notice that there. So is that present right now?
No, not very.
Kind of
Profound.
what I thought. Yeah, doesn't seem like it's got a whole lot of grip on you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you kind of just look at it from where you are now, right? You see that judgment or that question about societal things. Well, how does that seem to you now?
Yeah, there's more the gratitude to find myself in this way. So it's not so important at the moment. I know it's there, but it's, the gratitude is so much more here to see that and to, and to feel also the mystery about it, because I can't know it all, but I want, but yeah.
Exploration ahead of you. Feel the mystery of it. Desire to know.
Yeah, because where does it come from, this preference? Why? It's so true about my whole life, but from, I don't know, it's my partner choice, but is it my choice? I don't know. Yeah.
So you get to find out those kind of questions. Where does it come from? What is the part of me that is active, that is expressing in this way? You know, find that out. Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you for.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sharon, go ahead, Sharon.
Hello. Oh, hi. Yeah, thank you, Dominic. It's very strange. So the thing that I have recently been thinking about is a sort of feeling cut off from joy. And just as I've been sitting here, I mean, to begin with, when you started talking, there was this rather sort of naughty kind of energy that came into me, slightly an urge to be slightly inappropriate or a sort of silly. I mean, I was brought up in a very bohemian way, so it was a kind of part of me that wanted to be, deeply inappropriate in some way. I'm kind of naughty, you know. But that kind of part sort of settled down. It wasn't really judgmental. It was just a sort of naughty kind of.
Yeah. Beautiful. So it sounds like some kind of soul childy part of you, right?
I just wanted to be a bit naughty and rather inappropriate because of the sort of. But actually, I settled down.
But what's wonderful is that you could notice that, right? So for sure, these kind of parts are going to come up connected with this sort of material. But you were able to allow it to come up, to recognize it for what it is. And sure, it first arises as that kind of naughtiness. But as you allow it and you stay present with it, it continues unfolding.
But what's happened, which is really quite, it's just so weird how these things happen. It's because I thought I feel quite cut off from joy. And actually, what I feel now is just this amazing amount of joy of this. I'm a mother. It's just something yesterday I had a session with, I don't think I'm having psychotherapy anymore. I don't really like it. But anyway, and so about joy, and actually just right now I feel joy, and I'm the mother to a gay man, and so he was gay. I knew he was gay from when he was really young because it was just very clear, and I don't know when he came out, probably when he was sort of, I don't know, before he had words for it, but and so I have quite a fierce protection toward, because I've seen his struggle actually, you know, in that, in being gay. But also just this, I don't know, just the atmosphere or the air just feels sort of glittery and kind of joyful in the fact. Yeah.
Right. So isn't it wonderful to notice that something that started off as like naughty and inappropriate, and as you could stay with it, it has opened up into the presence, right? Into this presence of joy. Right? So all these difficult parts, right? These parts that are inappropriate or have all kinds of wishes. Sure, they're things we don't want to act out in our lives. So that's a big thing. But you see,
I managed to stop myself.
somehow the container stops you, right? But they clarify is the point. They can, so we can go and we can tell when we're in a structure that feels, you know, and when we're coming from something that is really presence. So that differentiation is really key.
Isn't that crazy that just for the last that 3 days I've been thinking, I don't feel any joy, I don't feel any joy. And then bingo, there it is. It wasn't very far away after all.
Maybe that's why you were wanting it. You were missing it. Good, Sharon. Thanks for sharing. Nice to hear. Right, everybody. I think that brings us to time. Thank you for coming along and joining me and sharing your experience and inquiring and looking into your experience. So yeah, I think Mike's put details in the chat, so you can see details on the YouTube channel, the inquiry course. I'm glad to tell you that we are very close to releasing a second inquiry course. So I'm kind of slower with these things than I would like to be, but this is how it is. But there is a second inquiry course coming out soon, online inquiry course. And I'm pretty sure by our next Dive in the Dom, that's going to be up and running. So that's something to look out for. And otherwise, yeah, look forward to seeing you next time. If you find anything useful or interesting here, feel free to share it with, you know, when we put the recording out. And if you would like to make suggestions or ask questions, feel free to send anything through to me. I'm always happy to hear from you. All right. So wishing you rich explorations, and until next time.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful.
Welcome.
Thanks, Tom. Take care.
Thank you, John.